I did the math today, and I was sitting there at the gym actually, and I was like, wait, like, it's been about 10 to 13 years that I've been working out, right? Because I started when I was really young, like 14, whatever. I'm 27 now. So, you know, it's about 13 years. And what's interesting over time is that at first I really liked the sport, and it was, trendy too, and I got brought there by older sibling, family members, whatever, and like it was a big wave of it. At the time, it was cool, like it was just the thing to do, blah blah, and I wanted to get big, like a lot of teenagers, I want to, be more in shape, blah blah, and when it comes to girls and stuff like that, it's always a big thing. And now more than ever, the wave has just been growing, like, with brands and the marketing and how much people, make it like a personality thing. But, the more and more I realized that if I was to give from all this experience something, right? If I was to give you my feedback, it's just don't do it. I mean, don't do bodybuilding. Like, and then what I mean by that is that the gym is great. Like the the approach to it, and the like the effort and the idea is great. But we could go through this more like questions. It's ask yourself, okay, well, why do we do it? Why do you work out? Are you going to say you work out for confidence? Do you work out to appear a certain way? Do you work out for what purpose? Like for mental health purposes? Like what is the reason? And once you ask yourself and wonder about this question about why do I do what I do, it's like, okay, well, this is the best way to get to that. Because with bodybuilding, the problem is that you develop a sort of image, you develop an appearance, right? And then you go into the world and you expect certain outcomes to come back to you, certain sort of reward for your work, because that's what you expect. You expect maybe your life to change, that people, maybe when it comes to dating, that will play a role, that maybe when it comes to this, that, or the other is going to play a role. But the reality is that when it comes to your social life, bodybuilding and that type of fitness for that sole purpose will only get you, realistically, from my experience, respect from other men. And I don't think a lot of us really aim for that purpose as you go into this sport. Like, maybe, sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's not. A lot of dudes go into the gym to for girls and for their dating life and stuff like that. And I can tell you for sure, it really doesn't matter as much as you think it does. Like, it might help on first impression. It might give you an edge of, like, you look better in this shirt than this dude. But there's also the thing that once you start at this point, you start with the impression that you give to people. People already start the interaction with you at a certain level of sort of taking you seriously. You start the interaction at a level of people treating you high and not being they're not as comfortable as they could be in a different state, right? And what's interesting about that is that it actually creates a sort of barrier between you and people. People might be they won't be as comfortable. I'm not going to say the word intimidated, but they won't be as comfortable approaching you, talking to you like you do normally, because they have trouble figuring you out. They have trouble understanding, like how to approach you because of the physique you build. And then because it takes a strong personality, a strong will, and it's harder to understand people or to be comfortable around them when you have this type of questioning as you approach them. I hope that makes sense. The second point is also that once you start high, right, you're gonna be compared to this point, to this high point that you have just set, right? And everything in the world exists as a contrast. Your what you consider to be light, what you consider to be dark, it's always related to something else. It's always a reference point. What I've noticed is that a lot of times the whole bodybuilding thing kind of backfires because people approach you, they start at this point, and there's like this standard, which is like, it's not even a human standard, right? And then once they start there, they're gonna be then faced with all of your flaws, which are natural, like your natural character, your natural person, who you are, what makes you you. And then so from there it starts to slow down. And that's a weird phenomenon, but it's a real one. People are gonna be now looking at what makes you you, but in comparison with the standards that they started with, right? And now it's not the same light, right? It's not the same level it's not the same acceptance, because it's almost like they feel deceived in a way, right? It's not just, the phenomenon doesn't happen for one particular person, but you could picture that for yourself. Imagine walking up to someone that has a crazy physique and something where you almost romanticize how crazy they look, and maybe that has already happened to you, but you start with that standard, that image of them in mind, and then once you start interacting with them, you realize, wait, they're only human. You notice this flaw, which wouldn't be a big deal at all, normally. But now you have to contrast them with this other image that you had, the great one, the almost superhero level. And now it's awkward, because you it's like, as far as attraction, as far as your perception of them goes, it takes you a big hit. It's a big thing that happens. Whereas, funny enough, in the other way around, if you're not really as in shape as somebody else, if you're not really as don't look as crazy or something as somebody else, funny enough, people can approach you in a natural way, right? When it comes mainly to dating, when it comes to socially, whatever, people approach you naturally, and there's like this comfort set, right? And from there, there's also then they start expecting you to be normal, and so from there you're sort of everything, all your little quirks are sort of embraced as being totally normal as well. And then now the strength of your character sort of supports that and builds on top of the flaws that you have. And now they're appreciated for for who you are. Now you're appreciated for who you are. You see how you're one person, right? Let's say here, and there's this scale here of perception. And if this is where it's great, this is where it's not as great. And if you start as just an average, normal, perception, let's say here, and now they get to understand who you are here. And now as time passes and the conversation keeps going, now they realize, okay, like, this is a great person. But if you go the other way around and you start at this crazy perception, and then like, whoa, hold on, like, look at all this that makes this is just a normal person, and I thought it was this, but this is kind of normal now. But see how we had to go into the darker part, and now it's weird. Now it's like the phenomenon is okay if it happens this way. It's okay when it goes from worse to better, but it's kind of bad when it goes from better to worse. Because people can't get over it. People can't get over the fact that they felt deceived. And then so that's for that point. The solution to this situation, right, is that the main to understand the solution, we have to understand the main issue with this. The main issue with this is that to go into bodybuilding for that sake of confidence, of, you know, attraction, whatever, is how much you're gonna rely on your physique when it comes to your social interactions. When we come to our social interactions, and then we forget that, like, that is what creates that discomfort with people, because by relying solely on the physique, we don't have the character or the persona to be able to deliver on that image that we built. We're not who the physique shows us to be, and that's one of the phenomena I was talking about before it happens. And so, if that's the issue, then it's to find an angle, an activity, right? Another sort of like a sport that will allow you to actually indirectly achieve the same results as bodybuilding does, right? You could do, for example, gymnastics. You could do calisthenics. You could do soccer. You could do football. Any sport, right? Because a sport is sort of a discipline. It's a world where you can play it for the art of playing it, right? You could do it for the art of doing it, and then from there you could add exercises that allow you to perform better in the sport, and then indirectly achieve the same physical results. Because what this does, the point to this whole thing, is to allow you, and yeah, another example is like kickboxing, MMA, those type of things. Those are also disciplines that you could go into, like. But the point of this is that the bigger change here is that you indirectly achieve the same results of the physiques that you want to do, that you want to achieve, and by doing it indirectly, by indirectly getting the same results, you won't be relying so much on them to support your character, because mainly if your goal within doing bodybuilding and stuff like that is to achieve confidence, to achieve more feeling better within yourself and all those things. Because if you go into them with that purpose, it means that you're already lacking them within, and to try to fulfill those with the activity by itself, the bodybuilding, for example, will not solve any of them. It will not allow you to create that type of change. And so that understanding has to happen first, and then a better solution has to come into play, which is, for example, replacing solely bodybuilding with a sport, right? A sport, and supporting it with some exercises that will allow you to perform better into the sport, so that you don't rely on it as much, on the physique. Before I end the video, I guess I just wanted to say that the point is mainly that a lot of us fall into that idea, and it's become so big of a wave that it just became standard that everybody goes to the gym and everybody does this and that. But the sort of scam or the deception here is to think that that it really brings you all the results you think it does. In reality, no. There's skinny dudes or fat dudes everywhere that are excelling at every area that you might want to excel at, socially, dating, money wise, and they're not in shape. It didn't play a role. It doesn't matter as much as you think. And so yeah, we need to realize that there has to be a better angle. There has to be a better way to go about these things, and I hope that this video allows for people to reflect on it. Just because, if you can understand this earlier, well, you don't have to go through the whole process of, going deeper into something that you're not sure will actually fulfill the goals you're trying to fulfill. That's all I'm saying. And that's coming from somebody who loves working out. He loves, loves the gym and stuff like that. So, yeah. Thank you for watching.